put this in. I am absolutely loving that head wrap. But I love that picture that you sent. I know you got that little thing up there, got it all tight and whatnot. I'm like, go ahead, girl, you better do that thing. This is that pandemic look. I've got
Yes.
my wraps over there just in case. And it's like I haven't used them yet. So we
Mhm.
are this has been a very interesting time. It really has. And this is your first involvement with the cavalcade, and I'm glad. Actually, I forgot who it was. No, I don't forget. It was Sierra London, Vern Thompson, because you and I have not done any
No.
conversations before. They were the ones that said you need to reach out to Reana Malori. She has a lot to share, different for the cavalcade, as well as she's been mega successful at doing the things in the literary community, and people haven't given her just due. So you are a USA Today bestselling author
Mhm.
featuring sassy, beautiful Black women and the alpha males who love them. Her stories focus on interracial romance with lots of steam to keep things interesting. A firm believer that love in all its forms should be celebrated. Her goal is to weave a story that brings the readers into her world, even if for only a short time. On any given day, you can find her reading a book from one of her favorite authors or bent over on her laptop working to bring you more goodness and steam. All right, you currently live in Virginia with your husband and has two very handsome sons. Man, I love that bio, girl. You just, honey, that reads like a book within itself. You better finish your life.
Yes.
So tell us, you said you're reading your favorite authors. Who are your favorite authors?
Oh my gosh. The number of books I have on my Kindle is out of control. I have my favorite one-click authors, right? Of course, Naleighna, you're one of them. I have all your King books. Oh yeah, I got all the
Are you
King books.
really?
I got the King books.
I'm looking
Yes.
at your video.
All those coming out. I got all the King books. I got, of course, Olivia Gaines, and I see her name on here, but Olivia Gaines is absolutely a one click. Theodora Taylor is a one click. Zyla Turner, Sierra London, Laverne Thompson. I have so many, but for me, I just love to read a good book, and I'm a reader first. And if I could spend my entire weekend reading a book, I would be a happy camper. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just love to read.
Let me show everybody this thing right here. Hold on for a second.
Uh-oh.
I just want to share this with everybody. Look at that. Look at that.
Ooh, yeah.
Give me some hot stuff, baby, this evening. I mean, that's a hot cover right there. That looks like all kind of wickedness is going on. Let me tell you. And I'm like, ooh, baby. He
Hmm.
looks like, and there's that spot right there.
Yes.
That
Right.
spot
They
right there on a woman.
nibble and
Ooh,
bite, and it's like the little, like get you like.
yeah. See, people think it's the get down with the get down, but it starts from the head. But when you get down, it's like, right there. That's that spotlight makes you just flat out of the chair and just melt all over.
Yes.
He say he can get
Every
it between
time.
us. He can get it all over. He can get it.
Right?
Indeed. So tell the readers actually a little about, somebody said, love that cover. That's fire. Um, Olivia says to you, you are as well. She's like Drew. She said, I love the king. She's drooling. That
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna tell you. I'm like, oh my God, that just made my day. Oh my God. Priscilla Johnson says, I love Reana Mallory and her hubby. Oh, they met the hubby. Hubby.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Some of the ladies have met the hubs when he's gone to some couple of events. So yeah, he's like the one. They pay half the time pay more attention to him than to me. Oh
And
yeah.
where they do that at? But yeah, yes, indeed. Tell us a little bit about your writing journey, your writing into publishing journey, for people who don't know you. I think, were we both in Crossroads?
We were, yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So it was Laverne Thompson, like I said, Sierra London. They all, said, and even it was just wonderful how Each one of you guys advocate for each other. I have not seen so much Black love in the industry as I have seen in the last 2 years since I've been traveling in these circles that are outside my norm. And I, when I met them at RT Book Lovers Convention and then Book Lovers Con, and I'm getting to meet so many black authors. They write interracial, they write paranormal. For me, that was L.A. Banks, and Tanana Reed Dew. But now we have all these new young voices, Cerise Rennie Murphy, all of it. It's so wonderful. So tell us, please tell us a little bit about your publishing journey.
Yes. So actually, I published my very first story in 2009. But how I got there is, I just mentioned earlier, I'm an avid book reader, and I picked up my first IR book, interracial romance book by Dorothy Coomson. I was in Target, and for some reason this book cover caught my eye, and I realized, I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Well, it was my very first interracial romance book, and it was called My Best Friend's Girl. So if you've never read this book by Dorothy Coomson, it just broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I sat there and I read that book back to back. Like I read it, finished it, and then I read it again because I was just like, oh my gosh, there's a book that reflects my life because I'm currently in an interracial marriage. So I was like, wow, this is something, so I basically just devoured every book I could. I mean, I searched, I had Amazon deliveries coming to my house every single week. And I had all these other, these stories in my head that I would, hey, Terry, I would write all these stories in my head, but I never thought to be a published author. I was just quote unquote a reader. That's all I did until I got to the point where I basically ran out of books. I mean, I had just read so many books. And I'm like, I need another good book, and I don't know what to do. And I'm, lamenting over it. And my husband, came to me one day and he was like, okay, you're sitting here pouting over the books that you can't find, right? You have all these book ideas in your head. Why don't you write the book that you would want to read? Because you know what's missing. You know what people aren't getting. You know what you want to read and you know it's not there. So do something about it. So I did. So in 2009, I wrote my very first book. It's called To Love a Marine. That's the book that kind of set off everything. I actually self-published right through lulu.com. That's aging myself a little bit, if you know. Yeah, I self-published on lulu.com, and I was with All Romance eBooks, and I just did, I even did my own covers a couple times, and oh, good gracious, if y'all saw those covers, y'all probably like, oh, Reana, oh, that's not good. But I did it, right? Because I felt that I had a message to give, and I wanted to share my words, and I wanted to give women like me, women of color, other stories that put them into a positive light, that showed them as the love interest. They didn't have to be something they weren't. They didn't have to pretend that they were someone else when they read these books. So, I wanted to, put my voice out there as well. And so that's what I've done. So since 2009, that was my very first book. And I've been writing and going since then. 38 books later, here I am. So it's been quite a journey, but I love it. You're on mute, Naleighna.
There you go. I do that because if there's any background noise, I don't want it in the recording, so I apologize. What is your book, baby? What is the one book that, of all the stuff that you have written, what is the one, like, if I didn't write nothing else, that's the one right there?
Oh, that's so hard. How could you do that to me? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have the book. Okay. Wow. See, this is so messed up. Okay, so here's my okay. Yo, make me pick one book, and I hope someone else like, no, what about this one? Okay. So the book of my heart that I felt that I absolutely needed to write was Escape to Heaven. And Escape to Heaven is a part of a series, and each book deals with a challenge or an issue that a woman of color may go through and how they deal with it. So Escape to Heaven deals with domestic violence. And that the heroine in that book, when you kind of turn to the first page, she is actually in a situation where, oh, thank you, Kenya, where she's in a situation where at the time, her spouse is physically abusing her. Mm-hmm. And it's her, it's that moment, it's that you're like in the moment with her while he is doing this to her. And she literally has to escape. She has to escape her home. She has to go to somewhere else, and she needs to find help. But Escape to Heaven is the book. That's the book of my heart. That is my passion book. I think if I never wrote another book, that is the book that I would need to get that story out. Yeah, I love that story. It's sad, but it's so empowering as well. If anyone has read that book, you know how empowering it is. But she has a journey, and she has to kind of find herself in that journey. So I love that story.
What is the book that, if someone needs a good introduction to you, so the book of your heart and a good introduction to you is a different one.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes. So what, for anybody who has not read you, what is the book that they need to read to get a good intro that will lead them into the Reana Malori world?
So I would say Finding Faith. Now, Finding Faith is not a Christian book. Let me just warn you right now. Her name is Faith, and so it's a play on her name, and the hero Cooper finds Faith, finds her as his partner. But this story is about a woman who, again, that intro scene, an author told me, like, Reana, you always come out, those intro scenes, you're just like, bam, like in your face, right? So in the intro scene for Finding Faith, the heroine is sitting with her best friend, and she basically is her best friend is telling her, how could you think men can be attracted to you compared to me when you're overweight? Look at how I look, and look at how you look, and why would you ever think that man would want you when he has me? Oh, it was bad. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, how is this woman her friend when this is the way she thinks about her? And so that opening scene is all about Faith getting kind of this slap in her face from someone who she thought was her partner, her friend, her person. Mm-hmm. And she then, she has this kind of, like a gut punch. And so she then, meets her neighbor, Cooper Branson, and their journey begins as friends, neighbors, and then it turns into something else. And Cooper is a widower. So he's still fighting that love that he has for his late wife. And there are some scenes in there where Cooper's a little bit clueless, but Faith isn't giving herself enough credit for who she is and what she brings to the table. And so there's a few catalyst moments in that book that I still get readers coming up to me saying, I cannot believe Cooper would do that to Faith. Like, how could he do that to her? Like, I can't believe it. And so, I think if anyone wants a really good introduction to me and my books and my style and what I focus on, Finding Faith is a really good book to do that with.
Midnight Ace, Book Bar. She's a book reviewer. Okay. I love your writing and introduction journey. Priscilla, Weekend Fling, and Spellbound, are two of my favorites. Kenya James, yes, I love that series. Those are my favorites. So Everybody Loves Mike. Is that one of your books?
That's my husband. Oh. I told you.
It's like Everybody Hates Chris, and then we got Everybody Loves Mike. I don't remember that. That one.
Yeah, Everybody Loves Mike. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so funny. He's like the life of the party. But yes, thank you, ladies.
I guess we got to write a book about that because.
He has a story.
That is hilarious.
It is.
Hilarious. Oh my God, Everybody Loves Mike. Oh, that's funny. Somebody said, Perry Forrest say, hey, Reana, looking good.
Thanks.
Okay, well, you've got a few minutes. Any excerpt reading? If you would like, she was only on for a chat, but if you wanted to read a little bit, you can, because the second half of this was supposed to be me doing something. I'm gonna give up
Oh.
my spot. They want to hear from you. They're gonna hear from me. They've been hearing from me all weekend, but not my books. But I'm gonna
Oh.
say something at the end. But let's get an excerpt if you would like.
Okay, well, let me see. Let me pull up something
Let me
real quick for
pull
you
up a little
ladies.
something, something.
Let me put up a little something for you ladies. So, you know what? I'll try and make sure I find something really nice and clean, because I want to be, respectful and mindful of what we're doing here. So
Okay.
let me actually read something from Finding Faith, because I think that book is, like I said, I think that's one where people will really get a good sense of my style. And my stories, I do dabble in some paranormal. I do have a couple paranormal books, but really for me, my stories are about just people finding out who they are, right? You don't, sometimes
Hmm.
you go through life, right? And you want to, you just want to live, right? You just want to be happy. You want to marry, you want to have children with your partner. You want to do these things, but life doesn't always work that way.
Hmm.
And so for my stories, I do try and just get people to escape for a little bit, kind of like I say in my bio, even if it's for just a little bit, just to escape into, yes, it's reality, but you do find that happily ever after, when you look for it. So let me go. I'm actually going to do that scene, the very beginning scene where Faith is talking with her best friend Denise, or who she thought was her best friend Denise, to give you an idea. Okay. So here we go. We ready? We ready?
Hey.
All right. I don't know why you thought that man ever wanted you in the first place. I'm more his type anyway. I think he just took pity on you until he could get to me. The hurtful words spewed from the mouth of the woman sitting across from her. Excuse me? What did you just say? Faith Douglas almost choked on her iced tea. The word stunned her, and she was almost certain that she must have heard incorrectly. Almost. Her jaw had gone slack at how the conversation had turned so negative so quickly. Her mind had become numb with shock as she tried to process what had just happened. She felt unable to move or respond, as if anchored in place and chained down to her chair. This unexpected nastiness coming at her from the woman sitting across the table felt like it had to be a bad joke. Well, I'm just saying. Denise turned her head and watched the two handsome, well dressed men walk out of the restaurant. I'm sure I'll be hearing from them both later today. The one with the goatee couldn't keep his eyes off me, she said with a smirk. Okay, not sure what the hell that's all about, but you can have them both. I had no interest in either of them. Faith responded before taking a sip of her drink and giving herself a moment to take a breath. This was supposed to be a casual lunch anyway. Why did you invite them to sit down? Faith's voice held a distinct chill. If Denise had been listening close enough, she would have heard this. It almost felt as if she was having an out of body experience. Today was supposed to be about two old friends reconnecting and getting together for lunch, but it had turned into something she never would have expected. For the past 6 months, work had become even busier, and she'd fallen into an endless loop of wake up, go to work, drive home, eat dinner, work some more, and go to sleep. So this had seemed like a good idea. You know, Faith, if you would only lose some weight, men might want you more. Her gaze traveled up and down Faith's form as she tilted her head in a look that could only be interpreted as pity. I mean, damn, girl, look at you. Your face is pretty enough, but you have too much ass and thighs for a man to really want to do anything with you. Your stomach pooches, and I can see a second chin starting to form. A look of feigned sadness crossed her features. I mean, you should really take better care of yourself. Hell, you probably have cobwebs down there. Laughing at her own mean and callous joke at her friend's expense, Denise seemed oblivious to the pain and hurt that resulted from her words. Taking a few deep breaths, Faith tried to calm herself before she said something that couldn't be taken back. After a few seconds, she gave up the fight. There was no way in hell this was happening. Not today. To anyone looking at her, they would have seen eyes half closed in anger, her cheeks a dark burgundy as she tried to quell her embarrassment, and body language that communicated pure outrage. Are you done insulting me? The questioning look on Denise's face almost took Faith over the edge. How dare you assume that I would want any advice from you regarding anything, let alone my weight? Her, her face must have betrayed her complete shock and outrage. Hell, she was downright pissed. Well, I'm just saying, flipping her feathered and curled hair over her shoulders and briefly looking at her perfectly manicured nails, the two-faced woman must have had a lack of oxygen to the brain because she clearly didn't know when to shut her mouth. Maybe if you worked out a little more or at least dressed like you wanted a man, you might actually get one. Faith's response was swift and left no room for interpretation. Have you lost your damn mind? Where is this coming from, Denise? I'm not even sure why you would fix your mouth to say this to me. Reaching over to grab her purse, she began to gather her things. If she didn't leave soon, she could not be held accountable for what happened next. Stopping to look at Faith as if she were imparting some great wisdom, the haughty look on Denise's face was almost funny, if the situation wasn't so damn sad. Trust me, honey, no man wants to wrap his arms around a woman that's bigger than him. Plus, do you really think real men enjoy being with the woman that everyone thinks of as a big, beautiful woman? She said the words slowly, almost as if they were distasteful, and that just pissed Faith off even more. The anger simmering just under the surface was about to cause Faith to go back to her roots on this chick, and quickly. Normally, she was a quiet woman who allowed most things to roll off her back. Like a duck was one of her favorite sayings, and that's what she had become known for. Unfortunately, some people took her kindness for weakness, and most times that was okay. Over the years, she'd used that assumption to reel them in, and once they were in a state of relaxation, believing they'd won, she unleashed her full fury on them. Not many things took her to that point, and keeping her cool had become almost an art. But this was simply too much, and her cup had runneth over with the bullshit coming out of this woman's mouth. Faith was done. While she never claimed to be model thin or even skinny, being a size 14, 16 on an off day, was not necessarily considered a big, beautiful woman or BBW. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but why would she simply put up with someone placing a label on who she was? Never one to be put in a box built by someone else, she never responded well to other people telling her what she should think or how she should feel. Maybe some people would call her fat or overweight or whatever, but that had never factored into how she felt about herself. Working out regularly was part of her normal weekly routine. She visited the gym at her office at least 3 times a week, walking or jogging on the treadmill or gliding on the elliptical machine for at least 45 minutes every visit. Yes, she was pleasantly plump, but what the hell did that have to do with anything? Did that give another person the right to say anything to her and belittle her without provocation? Standing at 5 feet 9 inches with golden brown skin and luscious curves, she was more than enough woman for the right man. And there were plenty of men who looked at her with lust and desire in their eyes every single damn day. And yes, she ate it up every time. No, a lack of self-esteem or body issues would never have entered the conversation if it were up to her. Clearly, Denise was the one with the issue, not Faith. Deciding that now was the right time to end this conversation, she addressed the woman sitting across from her. Denise, let me stop you right now. Her teeth clenched tight, her voice was strained as she tried to control herself and not make a scene in a public place. Heat radiated from her body, and she knew her eyes must be shooting fire right now. I'm not sure what made you think today was the time and place for you to lecture me on how I look or the shape of my body. How I look is none of your damn business. She could feel her hands beginning to shake as she barely controlled the urge to smack the smug look off her former friend's face. A fabricated look of shock and surprise came over the other woman's face as Faith laid into her. The entire facade was completely lost on her, and it was really quite pathetic. At one time, Faith would have wanted nothing more than to look more like the woman sitting across from her. The long wavy hair, the thin but shapely body, and the upturned hazel eyes. There was no shame in stating that Denise was a very beautiful woman, but today she had become someone very ugly on the inside. Her once beautiful face had transformed into something quite hideous. She and Denise had known one another since their college years when they were both two young freshmen trying to find their way in this big bad world, supporting each other through successes, failures, relationships, and long days when only a pint of ice cream would make it better had become the norm. That was simply what they did for each other. That relationship had meant so much to her as the years had passed, and now, in one afternoon, it had burned to the ground. Faith, girl, what are you talking about? I'm just trying to keep it real. You know how we do. If only she could truly believe her friend's intentions were real and true, then Faith would have backed off in a heartbeat. But something about the words were hurtful and tinged with a whole lot of cruelty. No, this had definitely been intentional. No, Denise, you're not keeping it real. Why you choose today to tell me how you really feel about me, I'll never know. But now that I see the real you, all I can say is thank you. Shaking her head at the feeling of betrayal coursing through her veins, Faith continued. Thank you for showing me that you had been faking all these years. Thank you for freeing me from a friendship that was as fake as those damn nails on your fingers. Denise seemed to finally sense that she had gone too far. Faith, you're being entirely too sensitive. You know I've always told you that you were kind of big and needed to lose some weight. Glancing away from Faith for a second, Denise smiled at a handsome man standing across the room at the hostess stand, but his gaze never captured hers. Faith watched the interaction and noticed that the man seemed to look everywhere but at Denise. There was no interest whatsoever. And then it hit her. Yes, this was about her and the way she looked, but not the way she'd initially thought. Understanding hit her like a brick. Voice raised, she confronted Denise with her newfound knowledge. Is this because of that bullshit party we went to a few weeks ago? At the sudden turning of her head to look at Faith, the truth of her words were confirmed. Faith continued, unable to hold the words back. Are you fucking kidding me right now? You're coming at me with claws bared because of a man whom you hardly knew, a man that I had absolutely no interest in? Denise's face suddenly turned ugly with rage and hate as she snarled her next words. What the fuck ever, Faith? You knew that I was going for him, but you just had to swing your big fat ass in his direction. I don't even know why I brought you to that party anyway. You weren't even invited. What is that supposed to mean? She questioned. Had she ever really known this person at all? It means I only brought you with me out of pity. Did you not see the people in the room? Snidely, she looked at Faith with a look akin to disgust. You were clearly out of your league. I have no idea why a man would be interested enough in you to spend 2 hours talking to you at a party full of beautiful women. You would never fit into his world, and men like that only want women like you for a booty call, an experience, nothing more. Damn, that was some cold shit. I never knew you at all, did I? All these years you thought you were doing me a favor by being my friend. Did you really think I needed you to help my self-image? Pausing for a second to get her bearings, Faith started to laugh. She laughed at all the time she had wasted on trying to be a good friend. She laughed about the utter gall of the woman sitting in front of her. She was jealous. The vitriol coming out of her mouth could only be explained by that one undeniable fact.
Indeed, indeed. And that's our time.
Perfect. Thank you for watching the clock.
Yeah.
Because I have a screen up.
It's no problem. I figured as much, but I said I was going to let you roll right up to the minute. And where can everybody find out about you and to find your books? Where are you on social media and places? So give us your information.
Absolutely. So all my books are actually on Amazon.com. So you can find me, just look up Reana Malori, search my name, and go to my Amazon page, and all my books are there. I'm on Facebook, of course, as author Reana Malori. I'm also on Instagram as Reana Malori. So just look up my name, and you can also get to my website, which is just reanamalori.com. And you can find, all of my books. I love hearing from readers. Please reach out, connect, and let's continue the conversation. But yes, and if you have any questions for me about my books, you can definitely just let me know.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so very much for being with us today. We thank you for that reading and a little bit about your journey as that sisters of the pen. This has just been an awesome undertaking, and we thank you. And feel free to stick around. I can put you in the backyard where you
That'd
can
be
watch
great.
other things
Yes.
and see how everything is progressing. You can use that link tomorrow. We're having the reviewers and the bloggers on tomorrow to talk to the authors about getting on their shows, things of that sort. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Indeed, indeed. Thanks again. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye now.